readers. Welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Emily, and we talk about things that are book related on this channel. This is the first weekly vlog for October, and what I'm doing this month and probably for the rest of the year is just probably going to be weekly vlogs trying to get through my TBR. I had 53 books, I think it was 53, 54, something like that on my TBR cart that I want to finish by the end of the year. And that means I have to read 18 books off of that cart by the end of the year to be able to refresh with all of the other books that I still have to read that aren't on that cart. So that is my challenge to myself by the end of the year. I picked 18 books in my last TBR video, and we're just going to do weekly vlogs of me trying to get through this challenge. So I know 18 books isn't like 30 books in 30 days or 31 books in 31 days. I could do that. I did that in July accidentally. But I read a lot of romances in July, and it is fantasy season. These books are a lot longer, so it's going to be a challenge. I'm also a little bit slumpy, and I'm very stressed out because of like work and things going on there. But this month should actually be the easiest out of the next three because I have a week where I'm going to the beach and I can just read. We are starting the month with a bang. So the first book we're going to read, I'm going to talk about now, and then I have an idea of what I want to read this week. And my weeks aren't going to be perfectly 7 days just because, again, I have a vacation in there, and depending on when I finish books is probably when I'll wrap up each weekly vlog. But it is Monday. It is late Monday, so I don't know how much I'm going to read today. But it is the last day of September, so I am starting this book in September, but I'm not going to finish it in the next few hours. So, first book of October is going to be Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, which is the first book in the Dark Artifices. This follows a group of shadow hunters that we meet in the Mortal Instruments that are in a different institute. I think Los Angeles. Yes, the Los Angeles Institute. And they are in, like I said, you meet them in the Mortal Instruments. They're a little bit in the last few books that I read. I know they're talked about in The Lost Book of the White, and I think they're in the Shadowhunters Academy, the Tales from the Shadowhunters Academy, the two main characters at least. So this just follows a new group of them. They're a little bit younger than the ones that we've met in the Mortal Instruments, but same time frame. It's still like modern time, but I don't know much else of what they're about other than it's those people that we're following. So we will see how I feel about this. The Mortal Instruments is definitely still my favorite out of all of the Shadowhunters series that I've read, which is that and the Infernal Devices, which a lot of people probably disagree with, but I don't. So we'll see where this one lines up. I'm going to read this and then I'll come back to you probably tomorrow because I'm not going to get far tonight and I got to work tomorrow. So tomorrow evening, we'll touch base. Hey everyone, I started Lady Midnight a little bit last night, but more today. I'm 150 pages in on the dot, and I'm liking this story so far. I'm only 150 pages in so far. I like these characters more than the Infernal Devices ones. And I think it is because these characters are more connected to the Mortal Instruments characters. We've already met them. I already know a little bit about them and their circumstances because they were introduced in the Mortal Instruments. But this takes place around the Shadowhunters at the LA Institute. And you meet these characters, like I said, in the Mortal Instruments, but this takes place 5 years after City of Heavenly Fire, which is the final book in that series. So they're like adults now. When you met them, they were young teens, like 12, 13, and now they're 17, 18. And there's a storyline from, I think it was the final book, that is continued into this one as well. And that is where the story starts. And it's a person in the family that runs that institute story. But he's not one of the main people that you follow. I don't know how to describe it, but so far liking it. Loving the characters, loving getting them a little bit more mature and a little bit further along in their Shadowhunters careers and lives and everything. And I have a feeling I know something about what's going to happen between two of the characters that technically can't happen right now. I'm saying this like I understand what I'm saying, but nobody else is if you don't have the context. But I think there's things that she's foreshadowing that I would be very excited if happened. So all I know right now is that they are solving murders, trying to solve these demonic like murders that are happening. They're finding bodies with demonic symbols like burned into them, I think, marked some way on them, and some of the people that are being found are human and some of them are fae. And there's again another underlying story that comes from the end of Heavenly Fire that involves the fae. So that's the continuation in here. This picks up pretty closely after, no, it would have to be a little bit further than that. A few years after the Tales from the Shadowhunters Academy, so maybe like 3 years after that, and a little bit closer to the events of the Lost Book of the White. So maybe we're only about 2 years off from when we last saw our people. And they are talking about those characters, and I'm hoping that those characters at some point in time make an appearance in here. But if they don't, they don't, because I do like this group of Shadowhunters as well. So that was a long-winded way of me saying liking this so far. Only 150 pages in though, so we will see. These books are all very chunky, so I'm hoping I don't get burned out on them, because this one's the shortest and it's 668 pages. So I will update you all with where I make it tomorrow. Hey everyone, update. I must just drop that. Update. It's Wednesday. We're in Wednesday now, so it is day 2 of the month, but kind of 3 of the vlog. And I'm still reading Lady Midnight. I'm gonna try to finish it tonight. I don't have too much left, but still enjoying this, still loving these characters, very excited to see where the story goes, because it is different. Like, I think I said when I read The Infernal Devices that it felt like the story was almost exactly the same, except the same as the Mortal Instruments, except it was like different characters. Like the storylines were very similar. It was like same story, different font kind of thing. This is different. I mean, there's still shadow hunters. They're still, you know, trying to solve a mystery of who's killing these people. And Emma is trying, is that her name? Yeah. Emma is trying to figure out if they're related to her parents' death. And there is like a little bit of a romance. I think there's gonna be 2 romances, but there's not a love triangle yet. So that's different from a Cassandra Clare book, but still really liking this. Very excited to see how this book ends and to see if the storyline's going to wrap up in this one or if it is something that's going to continue throughout all 3 books. But I've got about 200 pages left, give or take, and I hope to finish this up tonight so that we can start the next book tomorrow. Not this one. I'm going to actually read a book in between these just to give my brain a little bit of a break, because I did try to read The Infernal Devices 3 in a row and I got through the first 2 and I had to take a break. So I'm going to read this, then I'm going to read another book, and then I'm going to read the second one, and then I'm going to read another book, and then I'm going to read the third one. Catch it? So I'll update when I'm done and we're moving on to the next book. Okay, next day. I finished Lady Midnight last night and I didn't start another book, but I finished this last night and it was phenomenal. Loved this book. Cannot wait to read Lord of Shadows, which I didn't want to go straight into because I did want a little bit of a break because of what happened when I read, when I tried to read the last 3 books of the Mortal Instruments right in a row. But loved this. This is definitely a contender to compete for my favorite series if the other 2 books are as good and made me feel the way this one did, which I hope they do. I got a little angry at Emma at the end of this book, but I knew it was coming, what she did. And I know that it's just going to build up the story, and I think that it'll get fixed eventually, but I'm a little frustrated. And then I started reading Funny Story. I'm not even going to hold it up because it's a hardback without the dust jacket, but I'm enjoying it so far. We have our 2 characters that are fake dating, not even really. They're just like pretending to date via social media to make their exes jealous because they're going to go to their wedding together because their exes got together. I don't know, just to kind of like prove to them that they've moved on and they're happy and everything. But they do get along, like they're friends, they're living together because of their circumstances and everything. So far it's just a really cute little story about 2 friends, really. That's all they are at this point. But I'm about 30% of the way through. I started this morning and then I read a little bit at lunch today. So I'm this far through and liking it so far. Going to try to read for a little bit tonight because I do want to try to get through this by tomorrow because tomorrow's Friday and I want to start Lord of Shadows. So trying not to rush through this because I am enjoying it, but I do want to get to Lord of Shadows sooner rather than later. But I will update tomorrow. I may have finished this by the time I update again. We'll see. But that's it right now. Really enjoyed Lady Midnight and so far liking Funny Story. So that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Hello, everybody. So I finished funny story today at lunch, which was my goal, so I'm happy I did that, and I really loved this book. Maybe my favorite Emily Henry. I saved my ratings till the end, but let me tell you, this month, aka this vlog, starting off perfectly. So I'm very excited to see where the rest of the month goes, especially since the next book I'm going to be reading is Lord of Shadows, which is the second book in the Dark Artifices series, which I think we all know how I felt about the first one. And I never really looked at this cover, but it is freaking gorgeous. And that looks like London, which means there'll be travel because this book takes place in... The first book took place in LA, but I know that the Blackthorn family has connections to the London Institute, so I assume there's going to be some travel in here. I don't know. But there's something that's going to come out in these books. I think that it was hinted at in the first one, and I think we're finally going to figure out what it is. But I don't want to say anything about it. But there's like a secret, like a Shadowhunter secret that I think is going to come out in this trilogy, and I cannot wait to find out what it is. I think I have a feeling of what it is because they alluded to it pretty clearly, I think, in the first book. But to see what it actually is and like how they actually word it and everything, I think will be very interesting. So I will update probably tomorrow because I'm just going to read tonight and I don't think I'll have much to say before morning, but very excited to start this book. Okay, so I started Lord of Shadows last night and I read a little bit this morning. I'm about 200 pages in, and it is a completely different storyline than the first book followed. The main storyline from the first book was resolved at the end of it, so I did kind of figure we were going to go into something new. I'm still liking these characters in the story and everything, and it's just getting more and more in depth, and we're learning more about them, and I'm liking the characters more as we read them. So still enjoying this, still really liking this part of this Shadowhunters universe. I'm curious as to what this book's going to lead to, if it's going to leave off on a cliffhanger and we're going to start something completely new, or if it's going to continue into the next book, which would be quite a bit because the next book's like 900 pages long, and this I still have 500 pages left of, so hopefully it's different stories, or at least it expands enough that it's not extremely repetitive, but we will see. I'm going to keep reading today and I'll update. I'd like to finish this today. Is that going to happen? Maybe like 80% chance, because I'm like very restless today, so sitting still is not good for me. Sitting still is not easy for me today. I do want to read, but I can't like sit still for more than like an hour at a time, which is fine. I'll just maybe take chunks out of it in hour increments and just see where I get, but it's still early in the day, so I have some time and I don't really have anything planned for the day. I've already done a lot of like my chores and stuff, so other than keeping my mind at ease, I really don't have anything to do today, so I will update a little bit later. Okay, so I have like 250 pages left. It is kind of late now. I mean, it's kind of late. It's like 8 o'clock, so it will take me a few hours to finish these last few chapters, so I'm not sure I'm gonna finish this tonight. It just depends on if my eyes don't fail me. We'll see, or if I just don't get too tired, but this book is very long, but there's so much going on and so many different storylines. Like, we've kind of broken up into like 4 different, well, it was 4, now it's back to 3 different storylines that we're telling, and that's helping keeping it go and keeping it interesting and everything, but at the same time, like, there's just a lot going on. And I don't know, this book is still related to what happened in the first book. The storyline's just continuing to develop from that. The relationships and the character development is very interesting, I think, how it's being done in this, and the connections between the characters is growing, and also relating a lot back to the Mortal Instruments. Like, the characters from the Mortal Instruments series are in these books a lot more than I thought they'd be, which makes sense because it is happening in their timeline, and these characters were introduced in the Mortal Instruments, so it's not like they didn't know them and everything, but they're more prevalent in the stories than I thought they'd be, which I love because, as we know, those are my favorite characters from the Shadowhunters universe. But I'm loving this book. I have a feeling if this continues into the 3rd book, like how much I'm enjoying these stories continues into the 3rd book, that may be a 5-star read for me. But I'm probably not going to read that in this vlog. I think I'm going to close out this vlog whenever I finish this book, and then we'll start it. I mean, it's not going to be unless I finish it tonight, it's not going to be exactly on a day, but it will be when I finish this book. And then we'll move on to week 2's vlog for the month. But I did want to get, these books are the chunkiest books I have to read this month. I wanted to get them out of the way early and before I went on vacation, so I could just read like the shorter, fun, like seasonal reads on vacation and closer to Halloween. But don't want to say getting these out of the way because I'm thoroughly enjoying these, but I don't know what this rumbling is. I don't know if it's storming or if somebody is like doing construction in my neighborhood, but whatever. All right, so I'm going to continue reading this. May finish it tonight. If not, I'll finish it tomorrow morning and I'll come back when I'm done. So I just finished Lord of Shadows like 2 seconds ago. So we're going to wrap this up because I'm still digesting what I just read. But started this vlog with Lady Midnight, which is the first book in the Dark Artifices, which is the third series, second trilogy of the Shadowhunters universe. You have the Mortal Instruments, and then you have the Infernal Devices, and then we have the Dark Artifices. First book follows Shadowhunters from the LA Institute in the same time frame more as the Mortal Instruments. It happens like after all of that, but it's the modern urban fantasy kind of thing. And they're fighting a power that's they're fighting a lot of necromancy things, and then there's stuff that's going on with the Fae that happened at the end of the Mortal Instruments, and that's kind of the storyline that carries through to this series. So this was a 4.5 stars, probably one of my favorite Shadowhunters books I've read. Right now it's tied for City of Heavenly Fire, which is the 6th Mortal Instruments book, which was my favorite before that. So 4.5 for that. Then I read Funny Story, which is Emily Henry's newest release, and that is about 2 people who end up getting together because their exes get together because they were childhood friends. So Miles and Daphne. So Daphne's fiance at the beginning leaves her for his best friend, who's Miles's girlfriend. So then they move in together because Daphne's fiance throws her out of the house because he bought the house. So they end up living together because of the circumstances, and she's stuck in this town that she doesn't know anybody in because she moved there for him. And they end up like forming a bond because of what happened, and from there they kind of fake date to make their exes jealous because they get invited to their ex's wedding and they're like, well, we're gonna go together. And then the romance just kind of goes from there. I really liked this one. I think it was an interesting take on a love story. I think that there was a lot more deeper stuff like Emily Henry typically does. It's not just like a fruity, fluffy romance. There's a lot of like deeper meaning things, and Daphne questions a lot of things about the choices she's made at this point in her life and how she got to where she is, and that she doesn't want to make those mistakes with Miles. So she wants to live for herself before she lives for somebody else, which I think is fantastic. So really enjoyed that. Also 4.5 stars. And then I gave that book back to my sister already, which is why I don't have it. But then I just finished Lord of Shadows, the second book in the Dark Artifices. This ended on a hell of a cliffhanger. And all I want to do is go into Queen of Air and Darkness, but I think I need a little bit of a brain break. Cassandra Clare is not holding back on what is happening in these books. This is definitely more tragic than any of the other Shadowhunters books have been, in my opinion. But it is also probably, I'm going to say it now, my favorite little collection out of the series. If this was even better, I'm still going to give this a 4.5. These are both kind of around the same. It's not quite a 5-star. Maybe a little bit higher than a 4.5. I don't know, but the storyline and these characters, I freaking adore. And the storyline is just so fast-paced and so intricate. And things just keep happening that I'm not expecting. That's driving the story along more and more. Phenomenal. So that's where we're going to end this week. And I will start the next vlog pretty much as soon as we're done here. And this was like not a full week because I started on a Tuesday and it's now Sunday morning because the month started on a Tuesday. And then I'll probably take this from Sunday to Friday because I leave for vacation on Saturday, and I will probably just try to keep all of the vacation books in one vlog. So we're not doing exact weeks. We're just going to do like as many vlogs as it takes to get through the 18 books I need to read this month. So 3 down, 2 of the longest ones, which that's great. The next Dark Artifices book is like almost 900 pages. I think it's like 870 some pages. So that's going to take quite some time, but absolutely loving this series, loving these characters, loving the storyline, and can't wait to read the third one. So very successful week. 4.5 star books. Can't complain. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in next week's vlog.